In Diablo 2, there are a lot of sets, some great, some terrible, and some that would be good if only they didn't have direct competition in fewer slots. Today we're looking at a set in that last category, Arcanna's Tricks. A set I want to enjoy, but just comes in a little too late to hold its own weight. As an overall set, it isn't entirely useless, especially considering how many mana perks it gives you whenever you have the full set compiled, as well as its ability to give plus skills now in 2.4, even if one of them is somewhat limited to being just for the sorceress. But beyond that, outside of some faster casts, a lot of its mods simply fall into being mediocre compared to alternatives, or even sit at outright useless like the Deadly Strike on the Death Wand. This isn't helped by the partial set bonuses being good, but not good enough to justify the slots they take. Even with the 2-part global bonus of 50 mana, or the 3-part bonus of 50 life and a pinch of mana regen, these are good, but you can get the same perks from plenty of lower level or less slot intensive sources. Now, when we get into the single parts, the staff grants us a nice +1 to sorcerer skills like we mentioned earlier, and grabs hold of some mana perks as many of the set parts do, with an extra 50 mana for 2 parts and an extra 5% mana regen for 3 parts. Though at the cost of a shield, it can struggle to carry its weight if you have access to other low-level sets, uniques, and rune words. On the helmet, we have a fairly basic replenish life and attacker takes damage modifier, but when combined with 2 parts, it does get a per level defense buff, and on 3 parts, when the set starts to do okay, it does grant a desirable 15% lightning resist, which, since you're usually around level 15 by the end of Act 1, early Act 2, on a normal run at least, it's pretty helpful at that point. On the armor, we see a little damage reduction, but as you start adding parts, you again see defense boost, this time 100 flat defense added at the 2 parts, and somewhat mediocre 10 energy added to the stacking of a 3rd part. And while the energy does boost our mana cap, it's easily outclassed even in its own set thanks to the flat mana effects. And finally, we have the amulet. Probably the most useful of the items since it comes naturally with mana perks, and a 2-part combination gives you 50% magic find in addition to the global partial bonus to mana, and at 3 parts it gives you the only other resist boost in the set with 20% fire resist. Needless to say, as we approach the upgrading portion of this look at Arcanna's set, I'm going to give it just a global not worth it, not even to exceptional vote, since even at level 15 requirement, it's struggling to hold its value against things like Leaf, Stealth, Lore, and random resist or mana boosting amulets, bumping it up in level and forcing it to compete with even things like a spirit weapon shows it's sincerely not worth it. And even when doing a challenge run, since it offers no % boost, there is no significant value add by making them require more stats and levels to use. Overall, pretty much the only time I can see a reasonable use for this is levels 15 to 19, and even then it's questionable at best, even for a sorceress who obviously gets the largest benefit from it. If it was a little lower in the level requirements or a little better in the partial bonuses, it could compete, but as it stands, there are much cheaper and easier to find tools that do what it does, just better.